everyone. Welcome to the JFree906 podcast and the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch series. Thank you, Ron. Wow, that's awesome. Thank you very much, sir. Please welcome Seth Bridges and our special guest co-host tonight, Cristina Gomez. Thank you.
Thank you. It's going to be so exciting. I'm looking forward to having this discussion for the latest episode of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, episode 6.
I know, right? So there's
going by
supposed to be
so fast.
14. We're almost halfway. So, yeah. And I know that there was and we talk so much, as Cristina will, as you well know, there's so much that goes on inside the Insiders group. And we talk about that a little bit here. I do a special podcast called The Insiders Insights that we delve. It's pretty much stays within the Insider group and all of that. But, but being an insider, which I know you are an insider as well, let's find out about you a little bit. Now, I know that you have a lot of different podcasts you do. You're a very successful podcaster, and I love your shows. By the way, you have Shifting the Paradigm, Mysteries with a History, and then Weekly Strange News.
That's
How
right.
did you get started in all this? I mean, how did did your passion just take off on behind the mic?
No. Actually, being on camera at first, I was so uncomfortable. I'm like, I got to really push through on this. But when I had entered university, I moved far away from home and I had a lot of free time. That doesn't exist anymore. I need a TARDIS to somehow get more time. But I really wanted to have this conversation for real with my peers. And I'm like, what are your thoughts when it comes to the UFO phenomenon? What are your thoughts on the paranormal? I don't know anything about it, but I would like to know more.
Mhm.
And, when you have certain conversations with people, it inspires you to go ahead and look at a certain aspect of that research, because when you look at it as a whole, it's very overwhelming. This the entire topic of the unknown, unexplained, there's a lot to it. And people would look at their watch, and they're like, Cristina, it's 8 a.m. We're not having this conversation right now. And I'm thinking, but I want to have it. And they're like, no. So I ended up creating a YouTube channel to help myself kind of give me a more strict path on attempting to do research, to speak to other experts and researchers in the field. And then it just kind of grew. I ended up really loving what I was doing. What turned into one show a week is now 4 shows a week. And then I'm also a full-time student. I have a job as well. But I love what I do. I also have insomnia, so I'm able to put all that in together. But it's been a real journey, and it's something that I'm very passionate about, to get my generation, Gen Z, interested in asking the big questions, in being curious, and wondering about our planet and our universe, because there's so much out there, so much things that are a lot more important than the mundane world, like what celebrities are doing, what they're wearing, what influencers are promoting products. That's so irrelevant and will change in a few years' time. But
Exactly.
but when it comes to these unexplained mysteries, it fuels you for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely does. You're absolutely right. And I think Seth has that same kind of passion, right? I mean, you and I have talked many times about it, and that's why I dragged him in here to be a co-host with me on this kind of thing, and he has the same thing. You and I talked about, the fact that you like the same kind of all these different areas like I do, UFO, UAP, paranormal, tracking. Right.
Well, yeah, it's like Cristina was saying, this world is so big. And I remember as a kid being a little upset watching Indiana Jones and going, well, my generation won't be able to do that because everything's already been discovered. Everything's already been mapped, everything. And then, you start to look into the unexplained, the strangeness of the world, and you realize, wow, it is still if anything, the world's gotten bigger. The mysteries have deepened. There's more questions that we're asking, because we have so many more tools now to connect with one another. And like you said too, Cristina, it's overwhelming when you get into UFOlogy, just one topic. And that's even, you try and stay within that, but then soon I find, this is a personal thing, and soon I'm finding there's a connection to Bigfoot and a connection to all these other things, and I'm going, well, what's real and what's not, and who can I trust, who can I not trust? So for me, Jeff's show, You, the other insiders, those are people that I know are genuine, that I know we're all in this quest, journey together. So that's like Jeff, you and Christina both kind of really said it. It's your efforts are really coming into fruition. Just the guests that both of you guys have gotten on y'all shows have given me and other viewers such a great insight into really knowing who these people that we're watching on TV are. I mean, I know we get that with the insiders, but y'all's interviews give us that too. Where for me personally, I watch an interview, with Brandon, and I trust him. I'm an emotional thinker and feeler, and I like stuff like that. So thank you both for what you do. I'm so happy I get to just tag along and be part of it.
Thank you. Well, we can't forget Puck the Puck Wedgie as well.
Yes,
He's a cryptid from the Bridgewater Triangle. I saw some in the live chat. Be like, "Where's Puck?" He's the star of all of my shows. He's my best co-host out there.
Cool.
But he's got the best smile too. Look at that.
Oh yeah, you can't miss that. That's awesome. Yeah, that's what I saw somebody mention that. And I wanted to say, Brenda, thank you so much. Brenda did a donation there. Thank you so much, Brenda. I really do appreciate that very, very much. Folks, for those of you who are joining us and have not already, please subscribe to the channel. It really does help us a lot. Give us a thumbs up if you like the content of our show. Really enjoy it. And that helps out in the algorithms. And he did. And Jim,
thanks, Jim.
Jim's actually going to join us on an upcoming recap of Skinwalker Ranch. I asked him the other day, and he said he would love to. So he's going to join us. And he was telling me, he says, "Oh, don't forget to bring up that Christina is also a very good musician."
Oh.
I do create space ambient music. I have another channel aside from mine, Cristina Gomez. There's no H in Christina, by the way. Yep. I have another channel called Cosmic Portals, and it's where I create space ambient music to help me relax, to help me fall asleep. Because again, I do have insomnia. Also to meditate as well. And I've received such good feedback. I'm like, I'm just gonna create a whole channel so that other people can go ahead and enjoy it as well. I haven't created music in a while because I've just been like up to my eyes with work, but it is something that I do love doing in my free time, aside from playing Elite Dangerous as well.
Yeah, see, that's I know, but see that, and I play a couple games myself, and you have to, because of like what you had said earlier about doing 4 shows a week. You're a full-time student and you have a day job. Sometimes you just need to do something where your mind is not thinking about any of those things and can just let it go. And that's where I go with that. I'm B. Jones. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And I'm sure you know who B. Jones is, or you've talked.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I said. a lot of insiders here tonight. So
I can't let Jeff call out Christina. Jeff's a musician too. I've seen a picture somewhere of him playing a guitar. I've seen some guitars in the background.
Yeah, and there's some of my early podcasts. I have guitars behind me, like Mr. Church does.
Yeah,
I don't have quite as many as he does. I sold off quite a few. Now I'm down to actually just 2 now. So
nice.
Music is magic, and that's one of those things that personally for me, I grew up very religious, and then I was an atheist, and then I started playing music, and I think that opened me back up to what we can't see, but that we know is there.
Exactly. Yeah. That we could go off on tangents all night about that kind of thing right there. I tell you, that's
right.
My one of my passions is some of the discussions we get into, especially with Shannon DeSalvo. And by the way, folks, Shannon was going to be here with us tonight, and she had to decline last minute. She had to back out, and that's okay. So I told her, don't worry about it. But I tell you, she is a student as well. And some of the things that she is studying, and her and I could have conversations going deep into some things as well, which we probably will at some point, because I mean, it's all interesting to me. I love talking about the out-of-body experiences and the things that happen that we can't see, touch, feel, or hear. But anyway, we're here to talk about Skinwalker Ranch tonight. And as a matter of fact, there's something that they can't necessarily see, touch, hear, or feel, but yet they know it's there. And that's the anomaly that's above the ranch now. So one of the things that we get as being an insider is we get some very good access to the guys on the ranch, from the ranch, and that's all of them: Kaleb and Dragon and Thomas and Eric and Travis and Brandon and everybody. I mean, the whole crew show up on there and they talk with us all the time. And I have to be kind of careful watching the revelations that they do on Thursday nights, because I don't want to spill the beans about all of that, because you need to be an insider if you really want to get that access. And if you want to be an insider, there's a lot of ways you can do it. But one of them, I have a link down below in the description of the show. You can click on that. It is a paid program. You get about 10 days for a free trial, and then you check it out, see if you like it. And then if you listen, if you like Skinwalker Ranch, if you like this kind of stuff, you will like being an insider. Let me tell you, because it sucks you right in. And then you become part of, and Cristina, you mentioned this earlier in the pre-show about it's a family.
It is. And while that might sound kind of mushy, because it does, it's true. It's true. You really do feel like you're not only a part of the family, where like you're dealing with a lot of other like-minded people, but you also feel like you're a part of the team. And the team that Brandon has created, they're so humble. They're so down to earth. They're very real personalities. There's no ego. They're really sincere people. And I've had the absolute pleasure to speak to almost all of them, either as a panel discussion or one-on-ones on my channel. And I'm actually really excited to share that this upcoming Wednesday, I'm going to have the caretakers, Candace, Lindy, and Tom Lewis, to share their encounters, because they live on the ranch. They've been there for 5 years. And it was an absolute honor, because they've only done one other interview.
Right. Oh, that's great. When is that again, please?
It's going to be on Wednesday.
Awesome.
Or as I say, Wednesday, because that's how it's spelled, right? So you got to pronounce it that way.
Yes. Anytime you write it out, you have to say that Wednesday. Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to spell it wrong.
All right. Well, we've got to make sure we tune in for that for sure, because that will be really good. And I thought about asking them, but I always think, oh, and I've heard that they don't do that. And I thought, but yeah.
That's one of the things I've really loved about this season, is seeing them going out into the community, seeing them on screen. I know we talked about it in the past, but anytime that they're on screen, I get excited. I love it. I think because it's like you said, Cristina, they're there all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, who else is there that much? Eric, maybe?
Well, I mean, even Eric, it doesn't live there. Oh, he kind of lives there,
but
he just hasn't been there, I don't think, as long as Thomas, Tom and Candace. But thanks for asking, Jeff. It's going to be at 2:30 p.m. PST, which is 5:30 p.m. EST.
Okay, good. I will be able to watch it then. All right,
rock on.
Sweet. All right. Well, let's jump into it. And like I said, we got to check that one out for sure. That's
very cool.
Yeah. So Jim is sounding out February. All right, so let's get on with it. All right, so, and I do go through and I don't know if Cristina knows this, but I do go through pictures. I love to show my pictures and talk about them of the ranch, and I won't go through them all tonight like I generally do, because I think we're going to go a little deeper into some of these different parts now that we have Seth and Cristina here. We might go a little deeper on some of these. So, let's see.
Good point, CK. I agree.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. This was episode number 6 of season 4, and they called this one "What a Mesa." I always wonder who's the guy that writes these. That comes up with the names for each episode. And of course, the guys start off at the command center, sitting around the table there. I remember they were talking about this 58 right here. That was an interesting topic one night on the table that's right there. What they did at the beginning was they kind of revisited when Thomas saw the purple flashing light that happened after they shot the rocket up into the anomaly area last week, and he saw this purple light flashing. Now we'll delve into this a little bit further as we go along in tonight's podcast, but one of the things that I did want to say about that flashing light, some people have said, and I've read it. I've read some of the things that are coming across from different places, and they're going, how stupid do these guys think we are? That's the flashing light that's on top of the thing over here, and they should know that already. Guys, they do know about those lights. They're there all the time. And this is a point they were making last night. This was not that light. Okay.
Mhm.
So this was a very strict Kate, thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much. This light that Thomas saw was not the light on top of the towers or any of the cameras or any of that kind of stuff that's out there on a regular basis. They know where they are. So, and they talked about this last night, and as if people don't realize that they're there all the time. But I wanted to make that point because they do know very well where all these the lights are. Um, but this thing showed up after they shot the rockets up and set off the concussion fireworks. And nobody else really saw it at first except for Thomas. So they kind of took a closer look at it. So two things that happened that night that was, and people have asked the question, why do they shoot off the rockets? And the reason they do that, well, not besides the fact that, I mean, who doesn't love shooting rockets off? I mean, come on. But also because it's like poking that hornet's nest. It generally gives them some sort of reaction from the ranch. I mean, when has it not that we've seen so far? Reaction tonight or that night was the flashing purple light. And then also the UAP that Kaleb and Travis saw later on. So, anything you want to add to that? I mean, that's, that was a truly an interesting thing. It was at ground level.
Yeah, I was glad that they did this because I myself was wondering upon the ending of the episode before this of what was it exactly that Thomas was seeing, because there was multiple lights. So I'm learning to keep a lot of my guessing and assumptions until I view the next episode when they're in the room reviewing it all. So for me, this was, I think it's because I'm more of a scaredy cat. I don't know if I would go with the rockets, but after getting the blob, having that engine blowout, I think you got to keep repeating rockets, right? I mean, they have gotten a response, and it, like you said, it's fun. It looks cool.
Yeah, and like I said, who doesn't like that, right? Who doesn't? We know Travis. I mean, he's a rocket scientist, for crying out loud. He loves shooting rockets.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rocket City rednecks. I mean, come on. So, go ahead, please.
Well, as you mentioned, Seth, so we were kind of prepped by the talk with the two tribal members who were in the beginning of the last week's episode, who described seeing those like these odd colored lights going over the ground, even mentioning the purple light. So you get these instinctual gut feelings. Like when I saw this, my mind immediately went to like portal entities. But what I do find a little bit sad is that Thomas was able to state it was purple, but we kind of saw it more as like a royal blue color. I was like, I wish I could have seen the purple aspect. But I do wonder about the portal stories and if they are dimensional portals, what's behind them? Like, I mean, for myself personally, I'm nuts about portals. I don't know a lot about them, but I love them, and I would jump straight through one in a second. Oh yeah, there's no question. I have nothing holding me back.
Oh, see, I was going to ask you that and I've asked the chat that before. I said, who wouldn't? You came across a portal, you stick your hand in, but you can pull it back. Now, what do? Do you grab up some stuff and head on in? Oh, yeah. And you don't know if you're going into a place where there's no atmosphere. I mean, you just don't know, but you got to check it out, right? So
you gotta take that risk. And as long as I have a stock of ramen noodles and a backpack and Puck, I'm good to go. I'll take that risk.
You got to take Puck.
Yeah.
Have to.
Do you have your backpack like ready to go? I got mine sitting right there.
My survivor backpack? You betcha.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. I knew you would. I just knew that. I could tell you were that kind of person. All right.
Yeah. And speaking about the flashing lights that they saw in the previous episode, like you were saying, they prepped us for the purple. I thought it was interesting that he said it flashed. I forget what colors he said. I think maybe like green, blue, and then purple. So I know we're about to get to there, but Travis saying purple requires like a lot of energy. So maybe what the Native Americans saw when he was saying it was going through these different colors, maybe it was powering up, because he said it went from certain colors up to purple.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean, so maybe it was some sort of, because I've read somewhere, you know, the term specter comes from spectrum. You know, these entities they flash the full colors of the spectrum, or
Yeah, that's a very good point. I hadn't thought about that. And I'm glad you brought that up, because Travis was talking about the amount of energy, and purple light does not travel. It takes a lot more energy to get it, like you said, to be able to see it. That's a very good point. I wonder if that could have any kind of correlation. The one thing that they did talk about a little bit was these two lights right here. Now, these two are from a house over there, or a couple of places. They are security lights around somebody's properties. They know about these. They're there all the time. They see them quite often. And this light, of course, being very close to being about the same level on the ground, that makes you wonder about what could have caused it. Now, could it have been somebody messing with them? Yes, it probably could have. Was it? We just don't know, because we know Thomas took off and went over there to check it out and to see what he could find. And we'll get to that here a little bit as we go along here. But he went out there that night and they found no evidence of anybody around there. Now, again, does that mean somebody didn't sneak away and cause it messing with them? They saw the rockets, they decided to mess them. It is possible. But yet, why the purple light? You know, very interesting, I thought, for sure.
The timing of it is suspicious. If it was somebody messing with them, well, I guess they would have seen the rocket go up.
Yeah, they would have seen the rockets firing up. But anyway, so more to come on that. What they did next was they took off and went over to get back over to the Mesa, where they were doing the drilling program. Now, if you remember last year, the guys from Straight Shot Drilling, they were working. There's Arnold Blunt right there, Straight Shot Oilfield Services. Now, last year, they were working on the other side of the road and on the other side of the irrigation canal. They had to go underneath those and then up into the Mesa. And then they encountered the dome-like structure about 400 feet in, or it went about 400 feet as they were coming along, and they couldn't change the trajectory of the drill. This is a drill that they can guide right, left, up, and down, and they could not do so. So that was last year. That's, of course, why they brought them out. And then they found those pieces of metal that came out of the Mesa. These were out of the spoils. And, you know, again, people said, oh, they came out of the inside of the truck. It was a lining inside. No, it was clean. They checked all of that. They know it was not part of the inside of the tanker. And then they took it to get it studied. And then this wasn't Travis saying it. It was actually the other guy. But he said they use this in the space shuttle tiling. This materials are used. The europium, I forgot that, trillium. And europium. Yeah. Yeah, Jeff, that's it. I hope I'm right on that. But anyway, a couple of different materials, and it was definitely a manufactured.
I agree, Brenda. What if someone just opened the portal and they're poking their head out, going, what's all that noise? And then they just go back.
Yeah, what's all that rocket noise going on, right? So this year, they set up at the bottom of the Mesa, as you well know from the previous episodes. They cleaned everything up over there. They made a little spot for the drill rig to get going, and they got started with that right off the bat. And also, one thing that I didn't realize at the time, I wondered, how do they track that drill head? How do they know exactly where it is? And it is by this beacon. It's putting off a beacon, sending a signal out, and then the signal is being received by a unit that's sitting up on the Mesa, this unit here. And it tells them where they are as they progress. So that way, I mean, he knows when he puts on another extension onto his drill rig, he can guesstimate how many feet he's put out. But where exactly are they going, where they want it to? And that's what this unit here helps with, the beacon and the receiver, giving them those positions along the way, which I think that's fascinating. The guys were also set up over at a table getting ready to monitor the signals. Now, this is the kind of really cool part about this. One of the signals that they're looking at was the signal that the beacon puts out, 33 megahertz. And that's the one in the lower left or lower right there. Of course, they're watching, you know, some of the other ones that they normally get, 1.6 gigahertz. But something that was brought up in the insider program that most of us insiders know about, 33. What's significant about 33? I know somebody will jump out and say something in the chat here, but 33 happens to be the number that people decided to concentrate on for a 24-hour period in the insider group, concentrate on that number 33. Right. So, so what happened with that is, and Travis was telling us about this, is that 33 showed up. Yeah, the 33 experiment. And the next day, I think it was the next day or 2 days later, is when they got together with these guys and found out that they transmit that drill head transmits on 33. Yeah, the 33 experiment that Travis asked us to focus on as insiders, and then it shows up. Is that a coincidence? I'm a person that doesn't really believe in coincidences.
I'm with you. I don't know.
I'm also with you. I'm on the same boat as both of y'all, but hopefully you guys are rowing and I'm just kind of sitting there. But yeah, I don't believe in coincidences. I think everything is as it should be. So there was probably a purpose or a reason for it, but that is pretty interesting. I'll say that.
Yeah, very interesting. And one of the things that he said is that not only did the 33 show up as the signal or the megahertz that the unit is transmitting on, but he said there was also a point at which they had a 33.33333333 signal coming out. Does it get much stranger than that? I mean, I don't know. That's just, I thought that was pretty remarkable. But not only that, you take that to the next level. Okay, so as they're drilling in there, they're following the drill head as it's making its way into the mesa, and then they're about 270 280 feet in, and they encounter a hard object again. And just like they did last time, and a hard object that they were not able to penetrate.
Yeah, and this one moved them the opposite direction. Because last
Yes.
time I was pushing them down. This time they're getting pushed up.
Right. This time it's pushing in the opposite direction from last time. Why did he choose 33? I don't remember. I don't know what 6 times 33. What it be? Do you guys remember exactly? Was it Travis that chose 33, or was it? I think it was. I think Travis actually is the one that brought that up.
It's a number that has a lot of significance with a lot of different groups and.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it's
Sir Francis Bacon. I'm sorry.
It's one of those numbers that when you look at the I don't know if synchronicities of 33 is the right word, but it's a fascinating number.
Okay. B. Jones said Travis. Yeah, it was Travis that chose the number. Okay. Why 33? I don't know. You'll have to ask him. But anyway, so then they send, Thomas decides to go on up there, and he's going to talk to the young man that's up there, Aaron.
Thanks, Ron.
Yep.
Who popped it into his head?
Into his head. Yeah. Okay. Again, coincidence? I think not. And then Eric ends up coming up there too, as well, to come up on the mesa. And when they ran into this hard object, now this is something that has brought up a lot of debate all around social medias everywhere. When they came up against that hard object that they could not penetrate, as they're hitting it, the signal, the 33 megahertz signal that you can see right here, this is it right here. Okay. And you see there's one spike, and that's the drill head putting off its signal. Okay. As they hit the hard object, now you're seeing 7 of them. The one in the center, of course, being the signal from the drill head, and then all the ones on the side came up as they hit this hard object. So I think that Eric was spot on when he said, let's try something. Let's back the drill head away from it and then go up against it again and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was so smart. And I really enjoyed seeing that whole thought process in the show because it was kind of like we were seeing it real time. They
Right.
weren't thinking about doing an experiment in command center and then planning it out for weeks. It was right there. He came up with this idea and then he's like, let's go ahead and try that. And the rest of the team was thinking, that's a great idea, Eric. You're filled with
Absolutely.
great ideas. Let's go for it. And what was really cool about that aspect of the experiment and of the episode was that we were able to see what you're showing, Jeff, is kind of the spectrum and the spikes kind of spreading out and then going back into one spike as this drill was going in and out, kind of touching this anomaly. We have no idea what's going on there. And we have been so curious about the Mesa since season 1. And here we are in season 4, and I'm thinking, come on, give us answers. But it's really awesome to be a part of the journey again with the team and to see all the revelations that they're getting. Like, we are on this path with them. If they don't have the answers, we're not getting any answers.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And if they do have the answers but can't share, they say, stay tuned.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Every time.
Because we heard that. Yeah, stay tuned.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Jeff. What were you saying?
No, please. You feel free because I talk too much.
That's not true.
And I want Cristina and you both to be able to jump in. But yeah, that's somebody, and what Beth said here. I don't remember the name of the movie or the context, but it was something in a sci-fi movie that Travis likes for sure. That's where that 33 came from, I believe. Yeah.
So they didn't speculate about what could have caused that, or if that's something natural that they've encountered before, right? I got the impression that that's not something that they've seen. But I guess the drillers wouldn't always monitor their frequencies like the ranch is monitoring it.
No.
So I'm just I guess my question is, what could naturally cause that?
I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. And they don't either. And so the idea that Eric had, let's push up against this hard object. We got the signal looks just like this. Then let's back away from it and see if it goes away. And then go back up against it and see if it comes back. They did that a few times. Sure enough, every time they did this, and somebody was saying, and again, out in social media, somebody was saying, oh, it's harmonics. Okay, well, harmonics work a little bit differently than that, but similar. But Eric was thinking it. Well, I mean, they were talking about it not
resonance, right?
What's that? Go ahead, please.
I was just reading a comment of someone saying resonance.
Mm-hmm. What would do that?
It could hit. So what could cause that sort of resonance and also stop a drill bit and not cause any damage to it?
All right.
I don't know.
It backed away. This is when it backed away. Okay, there was nothing. And then when they put it up there, boom, it just goes crazy.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure that they're actually even hitting something hard. Maybe they're getting pushed away.
Well, Travis brought up the idea in that little segment where he's in, I believe it's the command center, where he says, what if it's a force field? And I'm thinking,
I love that.
I was like, Travis, yes. I mean, just speculating about it, I'm all in. That's fine with me. If we know the answers are not just the speculation of a force field is so cool. And to say that on television, it's decently taboo, especially because this particular show, it isn't like just UFOs. If it was like a regular UFO show, okay, force field isn't a big deal saying that word. But in this case, when you're dealing with credible scientists, bringing in a lot of experts on the show, looking at so many aspects of the unexplained, using the term force field, I was thinking that's a heavy, big word, and I'm feeling it.
I'm
right. For it.
You're so right. Travis does a lot of things he vocalizes a lot of things that I would kind of be scared to say around coffee table if I'm not sure everybody's into it, but he'll mention things like force field, and considering his background, considering the companies, the private and defense industry, that he's got a background of knowledge that when he says something, oh, this could be this. He knows a lot more about that topic than I do. So it excites me to hear somebody that really, really knows stuff go, it could be. Or, when he sees a UAP and goes, that reminds me of something I saw with the task force. That's awesome.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm with you. Anytime he starts speculating, and I'm going, yeah, do it, because we need that. I think
We do.
the Skinwalker Ranch, like Brandon said, is going to blow people's minds. So that's the family
And then put
friendly
you in
version of it.
therapy right
Yeah.
afterward. That's what he
Yeah.
said. I was like,
I think whatever we're going to find out at the end of this investigation, it's going to bridge a lot of the woo-woo and the science, in my opinion.
Yep. It's resonant at multiple frequencies, which, according to ChatGPT, could be caused by multiple resonant cavities, but is definitely not something which could be normal.
So what could do that and stop the drill bit at the same time?
That's and Travis asked him about it going through steel reinforced concrete.
Ooh, that's a great point.
What's that? What's
both you and Jim?
Mm-hmm.
That drill should have been super hot. He's right. They pulled it out, and they were able to just grab stuff right off of it.
30 minutes, it was grinding against this object, and they could hear it squeaking, squeak, 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 squeak as it was going. I mean, 30 minutes it was going up against this object. They pull it out, and as a matter of fact, you got Thomas right here. He's checking out the drill bit himself, and he said it looks like it's brand new.
Yeah.
That was something that I found very odd. I think that with that kind of grinding and not being able to go through it, and for the drill bit to just to look pristine, it's pretty bizarre. But also, I'm not super familiar when it comes to drill bits and things like that. But still, as a part of the audience, it's something that's, in my opinion, is a head scratcher.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on something. I'm not, I feel like so many of us aren't professionals on a lot of these topics, and that's what's great about the show is that they present these third-party experts, and I love the reactions of the third-party experts when they get brought on and they go, I've never seen this before. So I personally wish, and I just don't know if maybe the Aaron, I forget his last name, the drill guy, I don't know if he just, maybe a man of few words or doesn't want to be on camera, but I wish we could get a little bit more of his reaction. This guy is Thomas called him one of the best drill men. I don't know if that's the right term, drill men in the world. Well, let's get that expert on camera. I want to know his reaction. So that's kind of, I watched him this last episode, and I thought that he's been on the ranch 2 seasons now. What are his thoughts? I would love to hear more from him.
Yeah.
Because he's another expert.
Mm-hmm.
I totally know. I get what you mean on that. I would love to get some more like personal reactions from these experts that come on, because we only see them for a few seconds, like a minute tops. They say a few words and then that's it. But when I had spoken to Eric, he had mentioned that all of the things that they do on the ranch, only 0.7% make it on the TV show. Not even 1%. 0.7.
Yeah.
And so while they're doing all this work, speaking to all of these people, it's then in the production company's hands to do what they will with it. Right? They signed a contract to do that, which is terrible in some respects, because I think, but in others, the primary reason for this TV show is to entertain and then to educate.
Right. Yeah.
But we are seeing it with eyes of attempting to understand what's going on the ranch, and less so for the education factor. But for your average person out there, they're looking at it to get away from their 9-to-5 job, to take off their shoes and relax, but also have the mind working a little bit. And we're over here like trying to solve the mystery. But the show isn't made for you and me. It's made for your average person out there in the world.
Yeah, I think Shannon, one of our, I don't know if it was an insider, a recap of episode 1, but Shannon, she had said, I kind of forgot about the show, to be honest, because she's so involved with the insiders and helping out with that. It's one aspect of the continuous investigation going on in the ranch. And you're right. I didn't think that thinking, oh, they're keeping me from seeing him, but it made me wonder, why don't they get more reaction of him? Or, but you're right. That's us really trying to dig into it and figure it all out. And really, since joining the insiders, it's I know I've broken record, insiders, but really, like, it's really humbling too, because there's so many smart people, and it's made me realize I'm not going to be the one to figure anything out. I just want to be around the people that are going to be the ones to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, you never know, because even, everybody has a contribution. And I've talked about that with the insiders before, is the brain power that is part of this collective. And we've called it the collective a couple of times. I think Eric actually started that, the collective. He probably wishes he hadn't now, but the brain power within the group is just phenomenal. And somebody asked a question before I get to Jim's comment there. Somebody asked a question about please explain the frictionless force field. The way I see that, and I am not a scientist in any way, shape, or form, but the way I see that is it would be a barrier that you are pushing up against, and it's not causing any friction. When you put metal to metal, or metal on a rock, or metal on anything, or two rocks together, or your feet moving on the ground, you're creating friction. Friction generally creates heat if you get enough of that going. Like when you rub your hands together, you're creating friction and you're creating heat. You create enough heat and you're going to start breaking down where the materials, one or the other, or both of those materials that are creating the friction, will start to break down. One maybe before the other. Generally, that's what's going to happen. If you have frictionless force field, you have a barrier of some type that is not generating the heat or the abrasion that would then cause a breakdown of the drill head. We don't know anything about the barrier that it was up against. Did it make any influence on that? We have no idea. We don't even know what it was. But we know that the drill head came back fine, cool, looked like it was brand new. It was, if you're pulling that thing back, okay, yes, it is injecting water in there, and it's creating that slurry that you see, that mud right there. Well, I'm pointing at the picture that's not even up. Seth, you're supposed to catch me on that. No, but when he brings that back, even that 250 feet, it comes back pretty quickly. It's going to be warm still, or maybe even hot still at that point, and it's not. He said it was cool and no damage. So how is that possible?
You're asking the big questions, the $1 million questions.
Yeah. Interesting parallel between the behaviors of the Tic Tac UFOs and how they seem to be enclosed in a bubble that keeps it cooler than the ambient temperature. And that's an interesting point, Jim, for sure, because I mean, we've seen that distortion. Every time you see one of these UAPs or something like that, pictures of them, it looks like there's like a halo around it, or a haziness, or a distortion. And we've seen Travis actually point that out, about how it is cooler in temperature than surrounding air, than the ambient temperature around the air around it. So is that what it was up against?
Same sort of technology.
Could be.
Yeah.
And what I do want to mention is that last week they did have David Mason on, and he's created technology that looks at UFOs that have this weird temperature change. I had the privilege to interview him and to get an understanding of his research, his inventions, and also being in the movie Terror in the Sky. But he said that he came across a weird object that looked like it was minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay.
Really?
And he has seen them at that temperature repeatedly. Wow. Now, we can't think of the idea that space is incredibly cold, right? But then for it to come back into the atmosphere, any object, it's going to become warm.
Absolutely.
Right? But in this case, for David Mason, he built a special thermal camera for this, to see these weird objects in our atmosphere that were minus 80 degrees Fahrenheit, or in that kind of range. Wow. And he also used that technology for the documentary Terror in the Sky. And then he also brought some over to Skinwalker Ranch as well. And he saw these weird things off the coast of California, which is just a strange place altogether. Right. Yeah. So next to the Catalina Islands.
Well, they're visiting the underwater base there.
Yes.
In my opinion.
When are those tickets coming out? I'll buy one.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and they talk about that too, the things that in that distortion. Here I go down this rabbit hole for just a second, and feel free to jump in it with me if you want. But talking about that distortion or that bubble that might be around a UAP, okay, that allows it to slip through anything and even into water. They
Yeah.
show it going into water. We've seen it from the released videos where that one UAP went into the water. There was no splash. It went into the
Transmedia.
water as if it was just moving through air, like nothing.
Yeah,
going
the Agua Dia in Puerto Rico, right? That one.
Yes.
Yeah, that one was a really profound video. Not only were we able to see a weird object about the size of a truck go into the water, not create a splash,
Right.
but also it went from one object to two objects.
Mm.
That was something that was just really peculiar about that particular video. That I'm like, I wish more people knew about it. We always
Mhm.
talk about like the Tic Tac and the Go Fast. I'm thinking, what about that one?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's it's there's so much. I mean that we could take off on that particular thing. I tell you, it's um,
Yeah,
it's really
I bet
good.
that conversation with what is David Mason?
Yeah.
That was, I watched that movie and I was really excited to see him on the show. And I think that's another great expert, another great member of the community that I trust. And I'll be honest, it took me a while to like get my brain around like, how would you transmit information through light? And then someone said in the chat, Seth, fiber optic cables. And,
Yeah.
oh, okay. But yeah, so that's, I'm
Yeah.
not
So
a science-minded person.
yeah. So in the same way, like I said, I was a radioman in the Navy. You got the signal, your carrier signal, and then you embed the
Yeah.
signal or the data within the carrier signal. Same
So
thing
cool.
with the light. You're using that light, you're embedding the carrier or the data within the light, the beam of light. It's kind of an interesting concept, but that's
Yeah, I'm gonna go watch that interview. I bet it was really good.
yeah. I'm gonna have to check that out myself. I hadn't seen that one. You have so many out there, Christina. So many to watch. I mean, oh my gosh. How long have you been podcasting now, did you say?
I think for about 2 years. I think 2021 is when I
Wow.
started. And then it was just back to back interviews like every single week, trying to get the best, most brilliant minds in these types of topics. So yeah, I've spoken to a lot of people, but it's when we have these types of conversations, Jeff and Seth, when we hear other people's opinions, can it only open our minds and our perspective? Because yes, we can read 1,000 books. Yes, we can watch 1,000 documentaries, but then we have all these questions boiling up inside of us that we have to ask. And when we ask the right people, it allows us to get attempt to get a better understanding of these types of phenomenon. And so I think interviews are so profound, they're so important,
Yes.
and sometimes I feel like they're underrated.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The interviews they've gotten from the community this season have been awesome for me.
Oh,
That's been one of my favorite parts.
Yes.
The guy who captured the radio host, I forget his name, but he had an amazing picture of a UAP, and he was able to capture it where he said it stayed there for him. I mean, that's phenomenal when other people have insane technology and they're catching stuff for a blip and getting excited. This guy, saw it and, oh, let me grab my camera. Like for me, that really blew my mind. Like, wow, it was really letting him take a picture of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That was,
And,
it was Mr. Arrive was his name.
Yeah. And he had the wherewithal to take a picture of it. So many people don't.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a way, you
Which
get that
that's another
factor
fun.
where you're going, wow, that is amazing. And you think, oh yeah, get your camera. I mean, we're all carrying one. All of us are carrying a camera. Just grab that thing and get it out and take a picture.
Well, I mean, that's
fun.
That's a fun rabbit hole to go down and thinking, well, did something keep you from taking the picture?
Interesting point.
Yeah.
I like that speculation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It kind of stupefies you, puts you in this awe, and then you kind of realize, wait, was that real? Did this just happen?
Is that what happens on the slasher horror movies when the person is just standing there going, oh, while the guy's coming at them with the knife and they could have run, I mean,
then when they do run, they always trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. They somehow they're using infrasound and
infrasound but freezes you in your place. Yeah, exactly. So all right, well, before we move on to the next portion, I do have a giveaway tonight. And again, folks, these giveaways, we started this because we had a few extra things with the Curse of Oak Island. And then we started getting people donating things for us to give away because they loved it. And so we've got another item that has been given to us for a giveaway, and that is this book. This is the Path of the Skinwalker by Ryan Skinner. You guys know who Ryan is. Ryan and I got a chance to really talk quite a bit when we were at Phenomicon last year. Christina, are you going to Phenomicon? Are you going to be there this year?
I won't be going to any conferences until after I graduate and get the
Okay.
RV.
All right. Okay. All right. So yeah, Phenomicon, yeah, that was a great place. And I got the opportunity to sit and talk to Ryan quite a bit, and Cheryl Carter too. So that was really cool. I really appreciated that. And we've been talking to him a little bit offline as well. So anyway, Jan, who writes these wonderful synopsises for us, Jan Anderson, actually is donating this book for the giveaway tonight. So we're going to bring up Linda. And as Linda's coming up, she's going to do the spin now. And I'll explain real quick how you get to be part of this giveaway. For those who haven't already heard me say it 1,000 times, you have to be part of our Facebook group, the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond Facebook group. And you need to watch for the post. Linda will put up a post that shows what the giveaway item is going to be. And you simply respond in a comment saying yes. And that gets you automatically entered. You must be present to win. So already in the works, Jim. Already in the works. So you must be present to win, and she will do her little spin here, and we'll get to see just what who gets to win this. So that's how you get, and you must be present to win. Did I say that twice? Yeah, I did, didn't I? Okay.
Yeah, at least.
At least.
Last night took forever because we had to spin 4 times.
I know. Yeah.
And then I spilled my popcorn, which is why there's this whole conversation over here about popcorn.
That's the only way to watch any show. Gotta
It
have
was
popcorn.
just not a good evening.
Okay, microwave or regular work at popping popcorn, with the pan?
Regular.
Regular?
I
Okay.
worked hard to make that popcorn and then
I bet you
dumped it
did.
all over the floor. It ended up clear into the dining room,
Yeah, I'm too lazy for all that, so I just throw it in the microwave and away we go. Yeah.
I call him Chef Mike.
Chef Mike.
Yeah, Chef Mike, Rowave.
Microwave. Get it
Yeah.
done. All right.
This was the real thing.
The real thing.
Yeah, it
Jeff,
was,
do
it
you
was
know?
Jan Spurs' fault.
Do you know about the StreamYard prize draw feature?
Oh, no, I don't.
I'll explain it to you later. It's so
Okay.
easy to use when it
Ooh.
comes to giveaways. Totally
right.
recommend.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
I'm going to learn a lot of new things I'm going to learn from Christina tonight. So thank you. I
There
appreciate
you
that.
go. That would be
Yeah.
great.
I
No,
use
didn't I?
it every Friday, and I love
Okay.
it. It's
All right.
but I'll explain it to you later.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, I don't ever know if this is going to show up on the screen or not. So something else would be great to use. Okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
And then you wouldn't have to do it.
No kidding.
When am I going to win one of these things?
You're not.
I know, right? Brenda Dixon.
Brenda. I know she's here.
I know
Oh my
she's here.
gosh, Brenda. She missed out the other night because she wasn't here.
I know.
And I felt really bad.
Yeah.
She
Okay.
had been here and she had an issue and had to go deal with that.
Yep.
So, Miss
I
Brenda,
know she's there
got
because I
your
saw her just say
address.
something a minute ago. So Brenda Dixon, all right, you win that book. So yeah, you know how to work there. She is. I want that book.
That book.
Yep. All right. So you know how
Okay.
to do this. Get a hold of Linda, and you guys will exchange your stuff. And she probably already knows.
Yeah, I got her address.
All right. Cool.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye, Linda.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. So
Well, that went smoothly.
yeah, first time. Yeah, that weren't really.
Yeah,
well.
normally Christina, we're like, "Where are you? You won. Where are they?"
Yeah. And then we wait for a little bit because there's like a delay anyway, for like 10
Right.
second delay. So we wait for a little bit for the person to show up. So let's see. Oh, one last thing I wanted to say about the drilling also was that the amount of force that's being applied. They talked about 8,000 pounds of force being applied against the drill rod as it's in there. Now that 8,000 pounds, you're pushing that through 270 feet of rod. So it's not going to be a full 8,000 pounds at the tip of it where it's up against that structure.
Okay.
but it's going to be a lot because they still have to push it through all the terrain to get there. Now it has drilled that hole, so it's moving through it a lot easier, but that's going to take off some of that pressure. So it's not a full 8,000 pounds up against it, but it's still very significant amount of pressure, which again, going back to that whole bit about the force of it, and there's no heat or anything like that, no damage, no heat. There really should have been if it was up against a metal object or something like that. The other takeaway was that they had the pieces of metal that showed up in the spoils last year when they did it. This year they had nothing showed up. They are testing the material. You saw in the show, Thomas take a big, large portion of off the bit and put it into a bag that was going off to be tested. And then after they drained the suction truck, the tanker, they drained it and they took some of that spoils from there and also went to get it tested. And they got some results that we'll show here at the end. We got a little bit look at the results of that. So I think that was pretty much covers everything as far as the drilling went. But I think this shows us, and tell me if you agree, that there is definitely something. We've got 3 different things now showing us that there's something in that mesa. You've got the GPR data that was done when Kaleb was dragging that GPR across the top. The portion that Thomas did running around on the mesa with that, it was supposed to be flown by the drone, but as Pete Kelsey told us when he was on the show, they couldn't fly it. They couldn't carry it with the drone because it was just made the drone too unstable. So Thomas ended up running around on the mesa with it and doing that, which resulted, they got really no result. 10%, I think they were able to use out of that, if that. But the GPR data showing there's an anomaly that's 120 foot high in the mesa, and about 40 feet wide, I think they said 20 to 40 feet wide and 120 feet tall. So you got that. You have the drill hitting up against something, and there was one third part, and I'm trying to remember exactly what that was, but there was 3 things that Travis and Eric were talking about that is indicating there's something in that.
There's that same part of the mesa was also where Pete Kelsey's data was pushed. I don't know if that's the right
Thank you. Yes.
Wording,
Yes.
but he
Deflected,
had that
pushed.
he had that weird, it looked like a dark shadow. So for me, that was another thing that pointed to it. It's interesting that they had success on top of the mesa with the GPR, but whatever messed up, which I think intentionally messed up Thomas's GPR results, it didn't affect the snake GPR on the top. So I don't know. To me, I'm confused why it would affect it on the side but not the top.
Right.
So I'll be curious to see if we get any kind of maybe answers as to why that could have happened.
All right. So next, the guys jump over to the south. They go over here to the south field, what they're calling the south field. Now, this is in the area where Thomas saw the purple light. So they wanted to go over there and take a look. And they also wanted to go over and put up some cameras. They were talking between Eric and Thomas and Kaleb. They were talking about the fact that this particular portion of the ranch property, they can't see very well over there. And it's an area where it's kind of in a gully with trees on both sides, and they can't really see with all the cameras. And I don't know how many that Eric has going around the ranch now, but with all the cameras that they have, they can't see that particular area down in that gully or in that particular spot. So they decided to go out and put some trail cams up. I was hoping they would put up a platform and get another camera up there. I forget what they call it, PEZ camera. Somebody help me out with that in the chat. I know you guys will know that PEZ camera, I think. Point and zoom.
Yeah, I'm not.
I forget what they're called. Somebody will jump up here with it in a minute. But I was hoping to get one of those cameras out there. One of the ones that we can actually PTZ. Thank you. I knew Kelly, but somebody would come up with it. Thank you, Kelly. A PTZ that they can actually work with, and then we could see on the live stream as an insider. So Pan, tilt, zoom. Thank you. All right. So they went out there to put these cameras in. They drove over to this area, and I threw this picture in there because I just love this command center. I mean, I want that. I want that place. I so want to build that and have that in my studio. That would be awesome.
Oh
Anyway,
yeah.
all right.
With all those monitors, you can't go wrong.
Nope.
I mean, he's watching air traffic. He's watching signals. He's watching. I mean, yeah. Wow. That's just what would you? If I was, I wouldn't want to leave either. So they drive their way over there, and they get up there by this particular tree. I know I'm showing you all the pictures. I said I wasn't going to do that.
No, this was cool. I loved getting to see this part of the ranch.
Yeah, this is an area where you're right. We don't see much. And this is what Kaleb and Thomas are talking about right there, is the fact that they're in a spot where they don't get to see. And even Eric said when he zoomed his camera over that way to try to take a look at those guys, he couldn't see them standing there. So that was good. It was a good idea to come out and get something going over here for a camera. So what they were doing, and this is a look kind of up on the little hill there. I think this is actually where the South Tower is, looking back the other way. This particular picture, looking towards the north at the Mesa there. But they put up these trail cams, and thank goodness they locked them in boxes so they wouldn't get stolen, at least not that easily. Because for whatever reason, and again, I'll say this, people try to sneak onto the ranch. Stay off the ranch. It's private property. I mean, people, come on. So anyway, they put up these trail cams. Now these are not, as far as I know, in these trail cams, I think they record everything on a disc, on a memory card.
Okay.
And you have to go out there so often and go get it and download it on a laptop or something and then put it back in. And I don't know how, how much it's going to record or how much data. I know in the ones that I have, they'll go for several days, but they only record when they pick something up. When they pick up motion, and they start recording for a certain period of time, and then they'll shut back off. So, excuse me. So they got a couple of them. They put up this one in the tree here, and then they put up another one. Oh, then they found they spent a little time talking about this particular carcass and the bones that were left over from a deer, and it was a fawn. I don't know that this has any significance to the whole high strangeness of the ranch. It could, I suppose. They couldn't. They did bring out a lady that came and took a look at it, and I don't have her name here handy, but she came out to take a look at it.
Dr. Haley Lundgren.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's them doing their due diligence.
Yeah.
Really. It might be nothing, but I mean, with the other animal attacks and sicknesses, death that they've had,
cow dying.
Yeah, I don't think you can ignore that after you've been led to a part of the ranch where you just discovered that you don't have eyes on, and then you see a dead animal carcass. Why wouldn't you get someone to investigate that?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you. I don't know. I grew up hunting here in Texas, and seeing a carcass isn't that strange. But if I was on Skinwalker Ranch, I would certainly want someone with the knowledge to, break it down for me as much as they can tell me about.
Right. And she
what
did.
We're looking at. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a really great point that you made, Seth. They were doing their due diligence. They're not just going to brush off and say, oh, it's normal. While for the audience, you might think, well, yeah, it's a ranch. Yeah, you're going to find dead animals. Like, there's something weird about that. But one aspect that I did find rather odd was how well the hide was intact. When predators come, when vultures come, and when bugs come, they go straight through the fur. And the fur, it goes all over the place, and it's not always, of course, there are some exceptions, but it's not always as intact as this one. Of course, Utah is very dry. So when Haley, the veterinarian, picked it up, it looked very stiff. It looked very leathery. Truly, it did. I was like, okay, the climate, it's pretty good to preserve stuff. But at the same time, I was thinking to myself, but if vultures and bugs are really getting at it, I don't know how frequently a perfect hide like that would be found. Like, what are the stats on that? I wasn't too sure. So I
Yeah.
kind of felt like 50-50 on that.
Mhm. Yeah, very good point.
They're showing us for a reason, right? I mean, it's like maybe this is foreshadowing to where now we think it's insignificant, but
Yeah, very good point. Yeah, you're right.
Mm.
Could very well be.
yeah, that's a great point about the hide, Christina. I can't recall ever coming across a hide like that, and I've seen a lot of dead animals.
Yep. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah,
Mm.
and that cowhide, yeah, that it happened before, and it actually changed color over time too because of
Yeah.
it sitting out in the sun.
She said there
for
was
such a period of
no
time.
trauma, no bleeding, no puncture marks other than coyotes, which
Right.
she said that wasn't the cause, because if
Right.
a coyote bit it while it was alive, there'd be blood. So the no blood thing, that piques my curiosity because of what we know about other animal mutilations and UFOs. But I don't know. It's stay tuned, I guess, on what this
Yeah,
could be.
yeah.
Maybe nothing.
Maybe more to come on that for sure. So yeah, it was definitely. But I love the points you both brought up on that. Very good stuff. Thank you very much for that. They noticed very closely too that as Thomas was over and he was looking for a place, I think, to put up the other camera. They ended up putting it up onto a post on the fence post. But they came over there, and then Thomas noticed this burned section of this one particular post. And obviously it caught his attention and he started paying attention to it. They got on the radio and called Travis over to have a look. Again, this is one of those portions of the episode that just set the social medias on fire because a lot of people were coming on going, it was a lightning strike. Come on. Of course it was. Everybody knows that. And
I don't know.
yeah, well, according to the person that comes out next week, and looks at it, who says it is not a lightning strike.
Well, there
But
we
it's
go.
very, very odd.
Yeah, and maybe they were being led to this. Maybe the animal was just another part of, hey, stop, look at that. And then that allowed, I don't know if it was Kaleb or Thomas that saw it first. So yeah, I don't, I'm here I am speculating, but yeah, I think maybe something is leading them to this part of the ranch.
Mhm.
Interesting, because there was this, they were mentioning and kind of hinting at a possible correlation that was discussed with the burn on the fence post and the dead deer, but we didn't actually see any burns on the hide or like burned bones. So, I mean, like, if there were burn marks on the carcass, it would be an entirely and more ominous ball game when it comes to the connection between the two. But I think in this situation, and maybe I could be wrong, I don't know, but I think in this situation, from the information that we have so far, causation doesn't equal correlation here.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
But like you said, Seth, maybe that body was leading them to see the post.
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of hang out in this area long enough to notice what you're supposed to notice.
Right. And
Maybe
they
they were,
did.
yeah. And this is, I'm of the thinking that the phenomenon is, and works with intention like that.
Mhm. Like it's an intelligent phenomenon that's happening out there, or
Yeah. Just like there's no coincidences. I don't know that there's, I don't know.
yeah. Because you've heard people say before in the show, it doesn't want you to notice, or it doesn't want you to do this. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, and that's what Thomas was doing here. He was looking at some of the vegetation that's around that post. Now we don't know how long ago that happened.
Yeah, Kaleb said it looked fresh, right, in the show. I'm
Yeah.
wondering what made him think that.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll have to stay tuned.
Yes, we will. And I think they're going to elaborate on this more next week for sure, because there, like I said, there's a guy and I've got a picture of him in the preview for next week. He comes out and actually takes a look at it. So
yeah, Robot brought up a point. I don't know if y'all saw in the chat where he said the fence post. I agree with him. I don't know that using a burnt fence post where the burn was seems like a place to where if you tried to drive it into the ground like that, the top part would break off perhaps. So I think the burn occurred after it being used as a fence post.
yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Not that they wouldn't use it like that, but the fact that
I mean,
the fence has been there for a long time, and they that happened. It seemed like it happened recently. The burn on it, and like you said, we'll find out more about that next week. I think we will. We hope
charcoal
to.
from the post easily spread on Thomas's fingers. So Ron made a good point. The charcoal spreading on the fingers. I guess an older burn, the charcoal wouldn't really come off like that, right? Because of weathering. It's been through rain and sun and okay. Thanks, Ron. Good comment.
Yeah. And Jim brought up a good point there too. Had a lightning hit that post, it would have shattered into many pieces, or likely would have wouldn't have been intact like it is. And we've seen I've seen lightning strikes on trees before, and they almost always leave a trail within the tree of a split, a crack, a break in the bark, something going all the way to ground, because that's what it's doing. You see that going all the way through it, and here you just see that one small portion.
Yeah, and splinters everywhere. Yeah, I had a lightning strike hit tree in front of my house. It fell. Had lightning strike near my house, and like tile exploded because anyways, yeah. If a lightning hit that post, it would do a lot more damage than that little singe, which is perfectly like has a circular shape to it.
Yeah,
a shot with a ball of energy just went.
Yeah, that's what Travis is getting ready to say. He's out there and he's checking for gammas right now. He's making sure there's no radiation from the carcass that was out there. Some weirdness happened with the cow that died. Yeah, there you go. Be more brings up plasma
ball. Yeah.
And that's what Travis is saying right there. He's actually making the motion with his hand going, it's curved right here.
They should shine a light from that post and see if they can see it where Thomas was standing when he saw the purple light.
Dun, dun, dun. Could it be? Could that be what it was? Could it have been the purple light? Boy, I don't know. But anyway, but there's another look at it. You see how it's curved, and it's just that's just a weird, I don't know, weird phenomenon. And the wire is not any kind of, I mean, it would have, if lightning would have struck there, it would have traveled on this wire as well. I mean, there would have been more noticeable damage there from a lightning strike than just a burnt part of that wood. I don't know.
Yeah, we definitely need more information, more evidence to really come up with a good conclusion. But there were these ideas that Travis had mentioned that it was just an orb that went straight through there. The possibly one that Thomas had seen, I guess that night or the night prior. But hopefully, as both of you had stated, hopefully we'll get answers in the next episode, because they do bring in an expert to kind of look into that. And that is so valuable versus just kind of, I don't know what's going on here, and let's just leave it there, right? They're actually bringing in some intelligent people, some experts in those specific fields to, I guess, not only give answers, but also potentially find closure as well.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something that they're very, very good about doing, is like when you talked about it earlier, Cristina, about bringing in experts when they need to, because they know they don't have all the answers. I mean, as much brain power as that's going on between all of them, Kaleb and Dragon and Thomas and Eric, and all of them, are bringing so much brain power to this. But when there's something they can't answer, bring in an expert in that field and see what they know. And that's exactly the way to go about doing this, or take it to someone like they did with the metal fragments. We know they took some charcoal off this. They talked about it last night, and then went and had it tested to see if it had any kind of residue or, something on it. So we'll find out about it again as we go along. Yeah. Here is Dr. Haley coming in and check out the carcass. And there she is looking at everything. Getting her assessment on it. And you're right. You're exactly right. They needed to do that. Again, bringing in an expert to have a look at things like that. Now, here they are regrouping in the command center, and they're looking at that red substance, or whatever this red rock was. This particular picture I grabbed, and the reason I like this particular one is because you can see this looks like a chip or something that has fallen from maybe this area right here above it. If that is in fact a chip, that means that that's something that's on the rock rather than the rock consisting of that red all the way through. Now, again, and as always, there was a lot of people saying, oh my gosh, don't they realize this was from one of the smoke grenades that they threw in the hole last year? It was landed right there and it blew as all over this rock, and that's what it is. No, it's not. And they mentioned that very, very clearly last night when they were talking about it, that it is not from one of the canisters. They found several of those canisters, by the way, that were thrown down in there, dropped down in there, which was a weird thing in itself, was it not?
Oh yeah,
They were doing a
absolutely.
smoke grenade.
Well, the way it just got pulled down so quickly. They did they ever have any smoke come out, or did it all get sucked into the Mesa?
Only at first, before it actually made
And
it
then
down in there.
Okay. So at first it's coming out, and then whatever is under there kicked it on and was like, we got to get rid of all this smoke, and pulled it out.
Yeah.
I think in this situation with this pink rock, it was a shame that they were only able to provide images to the Utah State University versus samples, because a lot of people were thinking that it was smoke canisters, and I was a part of that category. I'm not going to deny that, because. Well, because we're seeing red, the Utah State University only received images, and if they were able to receive samples, and then the state university were to say, it's red phosphorus, okay, instantly we can agree with the canister idea. But because we don't really have any evidence to go with or go against what Travis had mentioned and the university, all we can do is speculate. And in some respects, people are stating, oh yeah, it has to be the red canisters because there was red canisters thrown in that exact area a year ago. So I don't think it's necessarily like bad thinking in that context right there.
Yeah.
But I really, really wish they would have gotten some type of sample to give closure to the naysayers being like, it's the canister, when they'd be like, actually, joke's on you, it wasn't. Like, I would love to hear that. I would love to hear, Cristina, you're wrong, it's actually this.
Yep.
But at this point in time, we're like, it's just, we don't know.
Mm-hmm. I know, and I have to admit, I was one of at the very beginning when they first showed it. I thought that too. I thought, but they, like I said, they've checked this out, and they that's something that they mentioned last night. It was not from one of the smoke canisters.
And that's so good to hear. For
Yeah.
I love that the team is watching the episodes and then giving their commentary, because they are at the production company's disposal. They do their stuff, but they're not there behind the scenes. Say, put this, don't put this kind of thing. So for them to go ahead and take the time to watch it, to comment, and to say, well, that kind of happened, but not exactly how it was demonstrated, is very, very valuable. It is, because it fills in those gaps that a lot of people want the answers to. And in this case in particular, with this pink rock, red rock, for them to comment on that is so important.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So we got to look at the as they talked about that a little bit. Then we went on also over to I was just looking at a comment there real quick. Sorry. They went over and they started talking about the checking out the stuff that came out of the spoils from the drill program that was going on under the Mesa. And this is part of the list here. You got a lot of the usual stuff: boron, sodium, magnesium, aluminum, phosphorus, potassium, things you're going to generally see in there anyway. But there is that one right there again, europium. So, europium was found. And I think that one of the things that was mentioned by Travis was that he thought it might have been Eric. Now that I think about it, I was trying to remember who actually mentioned it, but they were talking about if there was something in metal in there, and as this metal is starting to degrade a little bit, it is going to its material is going to seep into the surrounding dirt, into the soil in that area. And then he actually referenced Oak Island. I heard him reference Oak Island, talking about the content of the gold and silver that's in the water that they've been testing and finding the content of the gold and silver. it will seep out of those materials. Now, gold was one we didn't think was going to show up in
No.
water, but we knew silver does, and because of the way it reacts to, especially like salt water and things like that. But
Right. Yeah.
but so yeah,
Oak
go ahead.
Island taught me that, because I thought the same thing. I thought gold won't break down or corrode at all. You're not gonna find it in water. I think even Dr. Ian Spooner on the show thought that, and then he had to come in and go, actually, we can find it. That was so cool. Which hopefully, we get to find out the results of this. Wasn't the water from the drill, was it, that they collected?
This was in, well, I don't know. There's going to be a little bit of that residue in there as well, I suppose, from the water, because it's in that,
right.
well, in the spoils. It was in that mud or the slurry that they tested. So if it was in the water, yeah, it would definitely. Yeah. Linda says, yeah, I heard he mentioned Oak Island. He did. He mentioned it last
He's
night.
been on the show before.
Yeah, he's been on the show. Yeah,
Mm.
he talked about the Sirius, I think, one of the star constellations, in relation to the cross on the island. But anyway, yeah, some of these I have no idea what they are. I mean, I don't know my tables very well, but yeah, europium is interesting. That's one of the things that they found on the pieces of metal that they found from the drill program last year. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's another one of those rabbit holes that the show will send you down. I don't know about others, but I was doing a lot of reading on what selenium does. When he starts mentioning, oh, selenium's used in this and that, I go, oh, cool, I want to learn more about that.
Yep. Well, that's a point that we were talking about earlier. Cristina had mentioned. You had said, talking about him mentioning these things out in public now, talking about the force field.
Yeah, force fields, cloaking.
Cloaking was the other one that I thought of too.
Yeah, and just everyday things like cloaks and force fields.
Where else could you talk about it, right? And be amongst people that are going, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I grabbed this picture here because this is the spot. And if you look at the wall of the Mesa, it definitely looks like some sort of an area here. This is your area, this big spot. This is where they were drilling. Down here, the drill rig was set up right down here in the bottom. The crane was here moving these rocks out of the way over here. But you look at this area. I mean, it looks like some sort of a collapse or well, I don't know what else to call it besides a collapse area, because you look at all the rest of the Mesa and you see a lot of smoothness to it. And then this area just looks like a jumble. Again, what crashed in there and made the Mesa fall down upon it and bury it in there? I don't know.
Or they had to cover up whatever they built in there.
Dun, dun, dun.
Or whatever was put in there.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think, Cristina? What do you think about this spot?
There's been a lot of rumors, a lot of speculations that during the Bigelow era, they had blown up the Mesa and then they covered that evidence up. Again, those are merely rumors. We don't actually know what happened. But in the previous episodes, when they were moving the boulders, one of the crane experts, I'm not really sure what you would call them, but one of the crane company had stated, we can't move any more boulders, it's becoming too dangerous because of the landslide. And then they went to the next episode and we didn't really get to hear what happened, how they were able to move so many boulders for the drilling people to come in and do what they were doing. And I was like, give us the information on that little gap. How are you able to move those boulders after you were told it was too dangerous to do so? But so many of us are very, very curious what's under the Mesa. And many people are also curious about the Bigelow era, because all of that information, or almost all of it, is classified.
Right.
Brandon went there with the clean slate. He was given almost no information from Bigelow and his team and NIDS. They had to start everything over again. And the question is, why? Right? And we can bring in the Mesa. What is really going on there? That's the biggest focus on this mystery right now, is the Mesa. And if the Bigelow era and NIDS did blow it up, why did they cover it up afterward?
Yeah. Yeah, even Chris Bartell, when I had him, came on the show and he was talking about this himself, that he thought there was a cave over there at one time. He remembers there being a cave or something. He spent a lot of time on the ranch. I hate to say it, but that man, I think, was part of the experiment. I think he was, with all the testing that those guys went through. You have to watch that episode. If you haven't seen it, I got it out on YouTube right there. It's still there. The interview with Chris Bartell, but some parts of it were rather disturbing, quite honestly. I mean, he came away with it, um, he looks back upon it as a very good thing, and it changed him in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I think your show and like those of us who are interested in this, and Cristina and you that are giving these people the ability to like talk about their experiences, and with the Skinwalker Ranch show and Brandon Frugal's ownership, I think it seems to have been closure was a word Cristina had used for like a lot of, we're left hanging. Can you imagine being on the ranch during the Bigelow era and then not, like questioning so much of what you went through?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that it's been a healing process for this to be out in the open. A lot of these people still have careers. They're still, they need to be respected for their intelligence and their, it's like they're,
and their experience.
Yeah. And so it's allowing, I've said this a lot about the current crew, about Skinwalker Ranch. They're allowing this to all come out of the darkness for, whatever
about it.
Yeah. For reasons, national security, government, whatever, classifications, certain, whether they wanted to or not, stuff can't get discussed from the Bigelow era. That's fine. But thank goodness, because for us, it satisfies our curiosity. But for people like that were actually there, I think they're going to get answers to questions that I'm sure have just been pestering them for years.
There is a big psychological aspect when it comes to the ranch. There's a lot of people that have entered as visitors, and the team as well, that mention that it really tests their mindset. It really tests their mindfulness, because from what I've been told from Thomas, from Candace, and Tom Lewis as well, that it reacts to you, but also depending on your intentions, if you have positive or negative intentions, it's also going to somehow react to that visitor in a certain way. And that makes you, whoever is there, to really focus on their thoughts, on their purpose for why they are being there. And that psychological aspect is absolutely fascinating in my mind. I would love for them to do more research on that, preferably public research, of course, bringing in therapists, psychiatrists, psychologists, to get their understanding of what the team members and visitors are going through mentally. Because while we all love the scientific aspect of it, we also love the interviews with the Ute tribe members as well, getting an understanding of what's actually happening in their mind, how they're attempting to explain to themselves the experiences that they're encountering, but also the voices that they hear that no one else can hear, but it's inside, is truly bizarre. And I think it's a really great research hotspot when it comes to the aspects of psychology.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that, Cristina. I mean, I know they've got a very small time frame to give us what they're doing, and it's a year-long investigation. So hopefully, or probably there are a lot of things going on. But I would love to see everything you just described and bring every science, all the different perspectives. And I think that's a lot of what The Insiders does. See people of all backgrounds coming and having something of value. But yeah, it's seen the reactions from that the rabbi got from the ranch. I'm really curious what other sorts of words can manifest things and reactions, was it the intent behind the prayer? Was it the words? Will everybody who says that create the same sort of result? Those are my questions.
I even thought about, and I know this is kind of going off on a little tangent, but going along with what you just said, I have gone to quite a few different powwows, tribal powwows, and listening to the drum and chant that goes on that they do for the dance and all the different types of things. I would love to see if they would have if any of them, groups would be willing to come out and do something like that on the ranch. to see
In-
if they could communicate in some way. Go ahead.
Well, in one of the earlier episodes where at the very end it kind of shows you what's to come next, they
Mhm.
did show natives with drums and
Yes.
Oh, did they?
chanting. They did. And I was like, okay, we're gonna get that next episode.
Yeah.
And we didn't get it next episode. I'm like, okay, we're gonna get it next episode. And we didn't get it next episode. So
Huh.
hopefully they're gonna show it, or maybe it did happen and it didn't make the cut.
Oh.
I guess we'll find out. I was told there's 14 episodes to this season.
Yes, 14 supposed to be. Yep.
So hopefully
Yeah.
in that time we'll be able to get answers to both of your questions, because whenever they bring in natives, that's like truly one of my favorite aspects, when they are interviewing them, bringing them on the ranch,
Love that.
having them relay their experiences or the legends that they've been told by
Yes.
their family. That little aspect I find very personal. I find
Yes.
very important, because
And-
when you understand the legends, when you understand the land, I think you're able to conduct better research and get a better understanding of why you're conducting that research.
Yeah, and Brandon says he's a steward of the land. That means preserving the story as well.
Yes.
And,
Right.
and the history, and listening to the people who've been there all along, and they're saying these aren't stories or fairy tales. This is real. This is what our ancestors observed. This is what we've observed. For me, and this is why I'm going to be watching an interview with Tom and Candace. That's science is awesome, but I am an emotional, feely person, and seeing and hearing people's experiences is the most compelling thing for me.
Yep.
Because it allows me to live through them, and I think it's very brave. And I commend anybody who ever on any sort of public platform shares a story like that, because a lot of people will think, oh, the UFO's out there, there's no taboo about it, but that's not true. There's still
Sorry.
a lot of
Sorry.
people that,
Go ahead.
oh, you're fine. Oh, I hear myself.
Yeah, actually, there's a little problem going on right now. We're not seeing the chat. I don't know why. It's in StreamYard here. This chat kind of stopped all of a sudden, and we're not getting it. So I brought up my YouTube feed. So
Oh,
I can
nice.
take
So
a
you
look
can see
over
the
here.
chat.
But
But yeah, so I just want to say those people are brave, and I have a lot of respect for them. And it's because there's a lot of people that, for personal reasons, won't share their experiences. And I think when they see people going out and telling their story, it empowers other people who might be struggling.
It does. And these tribal members talk about some things that none of us have ever heard of. It's exciting, and it's just more pieces to the puzzle, because there is that gap between the Native American culture and then like the American culture, right? They're very, very different. So for us to get a better understanding of them, their stories, their culture, their myths, it's just more pieces to the puzzle, and then we're able to create the mural of all the answers that we're looking for.
Yeah.
Exactly. Very well stated. Thank you. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that real quick too. Is that we did lose some of the chat wasn't going here, but there's a lot of comments over on YouTube, and I brought up and unfortunately, folks, I'm sorry, I'm trying to scroll back and look at some of them, and I missed quite a few. I know David Russell is even out there, and
Hey.
yeah, David Russell also said was talking about I can't find the one I was looking for now. He was talking about the chants and stuff. Oh, here it is. He said shamanic drumming creates trance states. It might also create a state of mind that opens awareness of things we normally do not see.
Right. So that leads me to ask the question, are you calling forth these things, or are you empowering yourself to see what's always there? Sounds like David's point is that we are empowering ourselves to see what's there.
Well, you talked about the hitchhiker effect and how that could be looked at a little differently.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I think we were talking about, it was like, my thought was not that it's actually something that like latches on and follows you, but it's just that you're
opened up now.
Yeah. Now you're opened up. And even if you leave the ranch, you're time and distance, they're not.
You've almost been trained to see and hear things.
Yeah,
by
yeah.
your
You become
exposure.
aware of it. It becomes aware of your awareness of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So now you start to see it at home. It was always there. You
Right.
just never
Yeah.
saw it or
Yeah.
experienced it before, but
And
now you're experiencing it, seeing
mhm.
it.
And you're
So is
yeah.
that the other side of the hitchhiker effect? Is that I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I guess that awareness gives it power to manifest
There you go.
Yeah.
in the aspects that it does. So then if you're not aware in this situation, would you say that ignorance is bliss?
Yes, yes. If you consider that bliss,
Yeah.
it could be rather disturbing. I mean, you talk to people who, and I have, and it's kind of hard to accept and wrap my brain around, but meet people who are very open to the paranormal. And, you talk about somebody, that is that open to it and how disturbing that can be for that person, really, in the end. Can you turn it off? Can you say, I don't want anything right now. I want to turn it off. You talk about people who, like Amy Allen on the TV show, she can hear and see and communicate with people that have passed. Is she able to turn that off? I mean, can you stop that at some point? So, if you can, then good. I'd love it. But if not, it might actually drive you crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
So be careful what you wish for.
and I want to thank.
Oh, he froze. He might be gone. David Russell said, he was commenting on what you just said. He said, I am so blissful, Christina. That was David Russell.
Oh, nice, nice. That's
Yeah,
good to know.
Yeah.
Ignorance is not bliss. Or maybe it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, maybe it is. I don't know. Look behind you now. Oh, who's Pete? Pete said, look behind you now. I was like, what? What's behind me?
And I think Seth just got swallowed up by the portal behind him.
He's been skinwalkered.
Yeah.
So sorry, folks. Like I said, I know I'm looking over at YouTube now, trying to see some of the chat. There's a lot of chat still flying by on us. And yeah, somebody else said that he got skinwalkered. Yeah. Okay. Skimming past that real quick. Here's the guy that they brought out to take a look at the burn mark on the wood and get his assessment. And he's the one that said it is not lightning. It was not a lightning strike. So I'm really looking forward to next week's episode because I think we're going to get some really interesting details. And this right here is the one that got me, kind of blew my mind. And I can't wait to see more about it. This was a photograph or a little capture real quick of what appears to be an orb showing up in daylight. And that's what they said. That's what I think Dragon said, Arnold Bryant said on the show. He said something about, and this orb is showing up in the daylight. Now, is this in that area where they were looking? I don't know. We unfortunately don't know which direction this is away from the ranch. I wanted to think that it was toward the south field where the burned post was, but I'm just jumping to a conclusion there. I don't know that for a fact.
We don't know what camera took this.
No.
Okay. It might have been one of the motion sensor cameras.
Ooh. I don't know. It might have been. It very well might have been. I just don't know yet. But an orb showing up in the daylight, and they spotted it. It boop, and it was gone just that quick or something. And so we're going to see more about this next week. And I think that is that. Christine, have you heard about that book, UFO of God?
No.
Chris Bledsoe.
Read it.
It's I'm a Christian, and so you see UFO of God, and immediately you want to, as a Christian, you're going to toss that out and go, I'm not going to read anything like that because you're talking about UFOs and God in the same sentence. It's a very interesting read. I was fascinated by it, and I'm a slow reader when it comes to books, and usually I get about a chapter in, and I'm like, and it's not because the book was boring. It's because I usually stop at the time I can actually sit down and read. It's 11:30 at night, and I don't have anything left. And I start to read, and then I fall asleep. But that book kept me going. Let me tell you, Chris Bledsoe's story. That man went through so much, and he's all tied together somewhat with these other gentlemen. So I hope I'm not saying too much on that ahead of time.
No, I saw some stuff on social media. I think that is kind of similar to what you've said.
And David, you promised me, don't forget your promise, Mr. Russell. I know you won't. David's telling you, Christina, please read it.
Yeah, Christina, and thank you, David and Jeff. Whoever got you to read it, thank that person for me. Christina, my first time
David got me to read it.
Yeah,
David
my first.
and,
Okay,
yeah,
well, thank
yeah.
you, David. My first lunch I had with Jeff, we were talking about stuff, and I was just rambling about all my different interests and this and that, and then he goes, you need to read this book, and I read it, and I've read a lot of different books, and this one's currently my favorite. You should read it. I'm not going to say too much, but
yeah, it's definitely good. David got me. I had David and Shannon and I'm at a loss for a name, but I had them on the Insider Insights series, and we talked about it. And David had some very, very interesting things to talk about. And he promised he would come back on
yes,
the show
please,
at a certain
David.
point. So I'm going to hold him to that.
Yeah, Christina, I know I've said this a lot, like I'm an emotional, thinker and feeler, and seeing the members of the ranch talk, I can can vibe with them, right? And I'm like, I like these guys. Chris Bledsoe is one of those people. Reading his story, I vibe with him. Seeing his interviews and his family and the work that his son has done, who has a podcast that's really good, Bledsoe Said So. I vibe with them. They're a cool family. It's a cool story. I mean, I think it's going to change a lot in the coming, change a lot of people's perspectives about what's happening with the UFOs.
Yes, I do need to meet Chris, and I do want to very badly, and I'm hoping I can lean on a couple people to get that. I know he's done a lot of podcasts lately, Chris, Mr. Bledsoe has, and hopefully, and I keep looking over here because I'm watching the chat go by on the YouTube side now.
Yeah, I'm sorry we can't see that.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know why it's not running in here for us. Oh, it looks like there is a few people saying some stuff here. Now it looks like a little bit's popping in, but is that a hint? But yeah, David said he's looking forward to it, so he will be coming back on the podcast and talking about things in the future here. So, all right, so that's our episode, and we went through this pretty well. And Christina, tell me a little bit. I know we're going to wrap it up here real quick, and you're probably exhausted now, sitting here listening to me
Tired of us
for an hour and 45 minutes. But I mean, what your overall thoughts of Skinwalker Ranch and the high strangeness that's happening there. Do you believe in the anomaly that's seems to be above the ranch there? What's your thoughts on it real quick?
The ranch as a whole, it's a really fascinating place because we are seeing and hearing stories, seeing pieces of evidence that there is a convergence between the UFO phenomenon and the paranormal. And then you have the TV show, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, where as its main purpose is to entertain, it's opening millions of people's minds to the mere possibility of just attempting to ask these strange questions. So what I believe, it doesn't matter. What the research that they do is incredibly important, but the most important aspect, in my opinion, when it comes to the ranch, and very specifically the TV show, is inspiring millions of people that we can't reach. While we want to do the exact same thing, they're doing it at such a bigger scale, and they're doing work that I hope they understand what they're doing and how they're influencing so many people. I mean, I know that they're getting hundreds of trespassers and tourists coming through and trying to get in because it's such a fascinating location. But for Brandon to have agreed to work with the History Channel to create a TV show, he didn't have to. He was in the dark for a few years after he bought the ranch. He wanted to keep it so quiet. He did not want to be in the public eye. But I'm really grateful that he did, and that he's so transparent, as the rest of the team is, with their findings. So much so that they created the Insiders. They didn't have to do that. That requires a lot of work to interact with hundreds of people, but they did it because they think that the work that they're doing is very important, and they're absolutely right. It is. There's no other location in the world that's getting the same attention that Skinwalker Ranch is, and giving out the information publicly. Yes, there are other locations like Skinwalker Ranch across the globe that are very weird hotspots, but they're not getting the funding, the research, or the attention that Skinwalker Ranch is.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Well said.
Well said for sure. And like you mentioned, the whole thing with Brandon, and his transparency to share this with the world. And you've seen, if you've watched the Chips and Salsa, and I know you have, Christina, I know you've been there and watched some of them, and you see his passion come out.
Yes.
He's very passionate about what they're doing here, and all that he has put into this, not only the team and what they've put into it, but he personally has put into this.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talked that he gets very, very
Passionate.
adamant about it. Passionate,
Yeah.
yes. That's a
Yeah.
great word to use for it, because he said, do you think I would go through all this and all this money and expense and time for just so I can try to make money on it? I mean,
Yeah.
I believe him 100%
Yeah.
about how he feels about this.
And like you were saying, the transparency, and you said these guys, what they're doing is inspiring, it's empowering. To me, it shows, I like it. It's the spirit of this phenomenon that's happening is happening to all of us. It doesn't belong to the government. It doesn't belong to secret agencies and
Right.
research that never see the light day. It belongs to all of us. It can be engaged with by all of us. And of course, tread with caution, depending on what you engage with. But, I think Brandon's spirit of sharing this with the world and his passion, and because I think he is convinced, and I'm with him, that if we figure out what's going on, it has huge implications
It's going to change the
for
world.
humanity.
It's going to change the world. Absolutely will change the world. And I heard Travis say it. He is proof. He's positive that there is something at the ranch that is causing all this high strangeness. And he and his team
Yeah.
need to figure out how we can prove it.
And Cristina made a good point too
Got it,
about Skinwalker Ranch bridging UFO and paranormal. I used to think UFO was very nuts and bolts. These are creatures from outer space. Skinwalker Ranch had me really questioning that. We're seeing orbs. I didn't think orbs had a connection to UFOs. Now I think they do. It's, and kind of like we were saying too, where we want to see all the sciences, all the approaches, because it's going to take a village.
Yeah.
It is going to take a village for sure. Yeah. And I'm glad that we're finally at that point. Okay, wrapping this up. I'm really glad that we're at that point now where it's becoming more mainstream. People can talk about this. And not only that, but get academia involved, right? It's always been shunned. You don't talk about this if you're a professor or whatever. You don't talk about it. You're going to be ousted. You're going to lose your tenure or whatever. You go talking about UFOs. Now it's becoming part of academia where they can actually take and start studying this openly and get more answers, because it does take a village.
Yeah.
And funding.
And funding.
Right.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. It takes a lot of funding for sure. Ask
Yeah,
Brandon about the funding. Yes.
It takes science a while to catch up to what we already feel to be true, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely opening minds and all of that. So, wow. Thank you guys both so very much. Cristina, I am so honored to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming. I hope I gave you enough time to actually speak, but and Seth, thank you, sir, for
My
always
pleasure.
you doing your thing there. I really appreciate it. I corralled you into it to be my co-host, and now you're stuck with me.
Oh, I'm having so much fun.
All right. Well, again, thank you, Cristina, for coming on tonight. Folks, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We really appreciate that. Again, remember, there is not a Skinwalker Ranch episode next week. They took the week off. They have an FDR thing going on Tuesday all day long. And so there won't be an episode. So we will not be here next Friday night talking about it. We are going to wait until the following week. And that will be, and I'm old school. Look I even got my old calendar with my notes written on it. That's how old I am. So the next episode will be aired on the 6th, and we'll be talking about it on the 9th, on Friday night, the 9th.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So the 6th is that the Beyond is going to start that same night, right? Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Double header. It's going to be good. I can't wait, because Oak Island's all done now. They're finished up with that. And also, don't forget, folks, that so the only podcast I have going on next week, being a holiday week, is on Wednesday night. We have Laird Niven and Emma Culligan from Curse of Oak Island are both going to be on the show. They're both cast members, as you well know, if you're familiar with that show, and they're both archaeologists. And Emma is the new, we're going to call her the rookie of the year, because she came onto the scene and did a fabulous job working as an archaeologist,
archaeometallurgist thing.
Yeah, metallurgist, archaeometallurgist.
Something. It's got
right,
archaeology,
Linda?
metallurgy. She's a
she's not.
genius.
Oh, I think I got that. You got that right. All right. But we got Laird Niven and Emma Culligan coming on next Wednesday night, 7:30. So we hope you join us for that show. Again, thank you, Cristina. Thank you, Seth. Hang out just for a moment. And thank you all again, folks, for being here tonight. We'll catch you next time right here on the JFree906 podcast. Good night, everyone.
Good night.